All America is disappearing.
What would your ideal America look like?
So we would want to see government following biblical law when it comes to moral issues. I mean, it would look more like the United States in the 17 and 1800s. When you follow God's laws, you experience the same type of prosperity, freedom, no matter what time you're implementing those laws in.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that America was necessarily a free country back in the 18th century.
I would beg to differ. America at that time was the most free country in the world and has.
The old America is disappearing for the white people.
When you hear an old white man say that they want the old America back, this is what they mean. This is the America that they're desperately trying to get back. They want to live in a world where there are no black people, no Mexicans, no Asians, no gay people, none of that. Just straight up this. And a church picnic? Seriously? So yeah, when you hear somebody say they want to go back to the good old days, this is what they mean.
Hello guys, how are you doing? I hope you are doing okay. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I love you so much for being here. You know, you are all that I need. You are all that making me alive, and I love that. Thank you so much. Now, old America is over, or old America is disappearing. You know, the truth is, white Americans are not panicking right now because America is collapsing. No. They are panicking because the America that was built for them is disappearing. Okay? And that right there is the real conversation nobody wants to have. Nobody wants to have that conversation. But we'll talk about that on this video. Okay? But before we go, I want you to watch these clips here and then we come back with more commentary.
Everything about Lancaster was like old-time Americana. The diners, the cute ways in which neighborhoods had lit up their communities for Christmas, the attention to detail, the beautiful plants and flowers, poinsettias, all of it. Everybody seemed like it was the old days. Walked into a restaurant with a whole team, and there's a dad with two of his kids. And you know what the kids were doing at the table? They were coloring. No electronics, no fighting, old time. Sometimes you got to get in the car. You got to see the road. You got to go into that turnpike turnstile, come out the other side, and see maybe what you've been missing. Because if you're in a blue city the way I live, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel warm. It's not clean. It's not safe. It's disorganized and people are angry. And you can feel it. Not in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. America deserves to be Lancastered. We deserve to feel good walking down the street. We deserve to have neighbors who look out for one another. We deserve local governance that actually cares, that looks for ways to serve the people instead of always going to the people to pay for their fraud and abuse. We deserve schools that don't groom but teach, and teach the good old-fashioned stuff. You know, long division, how to change a tire, check your oil, boil an egg, sew on a button. All of that stuff that was so baked into the good old days. I had a flavor of it this weekend. And curiously, as I considered the demographics of the boys on the team, it's the exact demographics of this country. About 65% white, 17% black, 7% Asian, but we didn't have any Hispanics. And you know what everybody does in the stands? All of that melting pot of racial difference. Everybody enjoys their children. There is no fighting. There is no ridiculous conversation. It was true, pure joy. I want that. I believe this president wants that. And I believe everything that he has done thus far to clean up our cities, to identify all of the dangers, to go out of his way, to be the one man who not only undoes 30 years of damage to this country, he wants to bring back that fire, that candle, that small town vibe of manufacturing and production and farming and trucking and all of it. And he wants everybody to have a seat at that table. I believe that. And the people who are against that, you have to ask yourself, why? Why?
United States. Can you name just one that does that? Neither can I. And also remember, too, the same people terrified of Doge wanted to hire 87,000 IRS agents to audit you to make sure you pay more. Why? Why do they want more? Don't they have enough? Unbelievable.
The United States is an empire in decline. And if you look back over the past 100 years, the lessons of history are pretty clear. Declining empires suffer from two things. One, they suffer from what's called micro-militarism abroad. They send troops abroad. In their flailing decline, thinking that some form of military intervention will recapture the global power that is slipping away from their hands. And then domestically, the other thing they suffer from, every single declining empire over the past 100 years, the Soviet Empire, British Empire, the Spanish, all the rest, they suffer from coups. So as American politics become increasingly contorted and irrational, I think the thing to do is to realize that we are an empire in decline, and we are writhing in this kind of irrationality, particularly in the international realm, and it will continue for another decade or two until the power, American power, finally slips away.
Welcome to America, where we work to live and live to work, where we spend hundreds of thousands on a home that we can barely step foot in because the hours we work to pay for it keeps us away from it, where we buy a car just to drive it to a job that barely pays enough to keep the gas tank full, where our healthcare system will bankrupt you faster than the illness will kill you, where getting sick is a business model and the cure is priced like a luxury. Welcome to America, where the food is fake, the water is tainted, and the air we breathe is up for sale, where the richest 1% own more than the whole bottom half combined, but they tell us to work harder, where we chase the American dream to find out it's designed to stay out of reach, and every time we get close to the finish line, they just inch it a little farther back, where school doesn't teach you how to live, just how to obey, comply, and clock in, where education comes with a lifetime of debt, and the diploma is just a receipt for money that you will never see again. Welcome to America, where we pay taxes to keep the lights on in government buildings we aren't ever allowed to enter, where your rights are written in pencil so they can be erased when it's inconvenient, where justice depends on your income and the law bends to the highest bidder. Welcome to America, where they tell you if you don't like it, then leave, without realizing we had ties to this land before there was an America, where your labor is valued but your life is disposable. Welcome to America, where mental health is a crisis but therapy is a luxury that most can't even afford, where they sell you fast fashion, fast food, and fast entertainment to keep you distracted from the slow death of your soul and spirit, where the news is scripted, the truth is filtered, and history is rewritten to protect the guilty. Welcome to America, where people who run this country don't live like the people who keep it running. Welcome to America, where survival is success, where we've been trained to call this a living, but in reality we're barely breathing. Welcome to America. I want my old America back. I like this.
Here's something that a lot of Americans are going to have a hard time accepting and understanding. Donald Trump has destroyed America. America is over, at least as we remember and understand it. The United States as a country will continue to exist, but it'll be different. All of us have grown up in a world where America was the dominant global superpower. We were the leading light of democratic nations. Our president was the leader of the free world. Our currency was a global reserve currency. And this doesn't really come from any sort of formal designation. I mean, we're very rich and powerful, but it came from a general belief that we were the leading country. And that's gone now. It's been destroyed. It took Donald Trump less than 100 days to destroy it. The coalition of nations that formed around us because we were a powerful democracy and treated us as their leader, they're breaking away. Even Canada has broken away from us. Europe has broken away from us. We appear to be most friendly with dictatorships like Russia. They're small and weak and poor. It's ironic given how people treated Biden's presidency as unendurable, but I think we'll look back to it as the last moment that America was the America we grew up in. Nobody trusts us now. They look at us as unstable, as potentially corrupt, as unwilling to follow the rules that govern ourselves, much less everyone else. They look at us as dangerous. We could turn on them, impose tariffs. We could even attack them militarily, even our allies. We could try to annex their territories. No one has any reason to think of us as anything but a potential threat. America derived a lot of its authority from its reputation as the world's intellectual center, the center of all of the leading universities, the companies where people did research, where people changed the world. But Donald Trump is destroying those universities. He's destroying our medical research, our scientific research, our technical research. Those people are leaving the country. They're going somewhere else. And so the world's going to leave us behind. Why wouldn't they? We're a nation where our leader just yammers on and on about how America is going to bully everyone into line, but they don't want to work with us. They want to leave us to rot and look after themselves. As an American, it's incredibly depressing because it all happened for nothing. It's because Donald Trump is motivated by nothing but grievance and stupidity. No larger policy objectives was served. This is all about, I guess, punishing trans people and hurting immigrants for no reason other than to see them get hurt. And for that, we've destroyed a country that was a leader among nations in so many ways. We could have led the world, and we did for a long time, but Donald Trump has proven that we can't and we don't deserve to. And each and every one of us is going to pay the price for that eventually.
This is a Make America White Again movement. Let's stop pretending it's something else. This isn't about border security. It's not about stopping crime. And it for damn sure isn't about patriotism. It's about keeping America white. And that's what the fear is. That's what the policy says. That's what the deportations, the bans, the books, the censorships, that's what they're all about. They've seen the numbers. They've read the census reports. And they know this country is changing and they're terrified. Terrified of black people, terrified of Latinos, terrified of mixed race families, Asian immigrants, Muslims, and anyone else who doesn't look or speak or pray like they do. And instead of evolving, they're trying to erase. I mean, think about it. You think it's a coincidence ICE is ramping up all of their raids? You think it's a coincidence they're targeting immigrants while stripping education from our public schools? No, this is a strategic purge of culture, color, and memory. And if you think they'll stop at immigrants, you're dreaming. Black people, we've always been a target. Brown folks, Asian folks, indigenous people, this is about all of us. Even some of our white allies. If you're poor, queer, disabled, or outspoken, you're not safe either. They only want one kind of America. White, conservative, and obedient. And I want to say this too for all the people coming in my comments. I don't hate white people. I stand with good white people, but if you're white and still sitting quietly while all this is happening, you are part of the problem. See, they don't care about illegal immigration because the word illegal is just a weapon they use to dehumanize brown and black people. They don't care about law and order. They care about power and control. That's why they call Black Lives Matter protests riots, but ignore the reason we were in the streets to begin with. That's why they demonize anyone who challenges ICE, but never question the inhumanity of tearing families apart. Because they're not looking for justice, they're looking for dominance. This is not a war on crime. This is a war on color. So I'll say it again. This is a Make America White Again movement, period. And if we don't fight it now, it won't just be immigrants. It'll be your neighbor, your coworker, your child, you. Because once fascism gets a taste of silence, it never stops swallowing.
American don't belong to white people. It's Native American land, so do white people leave American too? Well, it's American land now, buddy. We're not going anywhere. We took it. It's ours now. That's how it works. If they wanted to keep it, they should have beat us in one of the 1,000 wars they fought against us and lost all of. It is what it is. Winners win, losers cry. Keep seething and coping, buddy. Also, learn English better. What the hell is that?
I'll say it before and I'll say it again. The reason why this is happening is because the cracks are showing. Modern society is in the process of collapsing. And when people are confused and lost and they don't know who to trust and they don't know where to turn, they're going to look to something that has stood the test of time, something that has survived through the centuries, through the ages, through the fads, through different people trying to tear it down. They're going to look to that for hope and for answers and for structure.
Welcome back. Now, you have had the videos, yeah, and you have a lot to say in the comment section. Please, I want you to comment down there. But for me, let me say this: when white people hear the phrase, or when people hear the phrase that old America is disappearing, they might think that we are talking about nostalgia. Nah, like all the dinners, all the music, all the traditional. But that's not what this is about. What many white Americans talk about old America, they are not talking about architecture. They are talking about power. Old America was not simply a time period. Old America was a structure, okay? A social order, a hierarchy. Old America meant that white culture was the default. White neighborhood were protected, means it means white comfort was prioritized. White history was centered. You know what I mean? That means that white history was centered. White dominance. Old America is when, white dominance was unquestioned. And the most dangerous part is that it was so much normal. It was normal that people don't even have to say it out loud. It was like the air. It was invisible, but it was everywhere, And James Baldwin once said something that still shakes the foundation of America. He said, "It is the innocence which constitutes the crime." Well, let that sit. Let that sit. America has always wanted to see itself as innocent. America has wanted to see itself as a land of freedom, as a land of opportunity, as a land of democracy. But Baldwin was talking the truth, or was telling the truth. You cannot call yourself innocence while standing on stolen land. You cannot call yourself innocence while built by enslaved labor, while maintained through segregation and protected by violence. All America depended on a story, okay? That white America was simply successful because of hard work, not because of conquest, not because of slavery, not because of exclusion, okay? But because of virtue, okay? And that is the innocence Baldwin is talking about, okay? So the question becomes, why now? Why does it feel like white America are suddenly panicking? Because for the first time, the old story is collapsing in real time. Let's break this down. America is becoming more diverse, and the United States is changing demographic. Young people are more multicultural, more global, more, more connected. And by the middle of this century, white Americans will no longer be the overwhelming majority. I want you to listen carefully here. Diversity is not oppression. But to people who were raised to believe they were the center, equality feels like loose, And that's why some people look at diversity and interpret it as replacement. Not because anyone is replacing them, but because they were never taught how to live without dominance. Okay? And for generations, black people accepted to survive quietly, to suffer politely, to protest gently. But today, let me tell you, today, black consciousness is global. Today, black voices are louder. Black unity is rising from Africa to the diaspora, and that threatening the old America, because old America required what? Required black culture, or required black silence, Old America required black submission. Old America required black people to stay in their place. But do you know what happens when black people refuse to stay in their place? That is what we are watching right now. For centuries, whiteness was treated as normal, not an identity, just the default. But right now, people are asking, what is whiteness? How was it constructed? What role did it play in oppression? What does it demand? Comfort, Why is it demand comfort? And that, it creates a deeper psychological discomfort, because when you are used to being the norm, when you are used to being questioned, feels like an attack. And many white America was sold a contract that if you are white and you work hard, you'll always be okay. But capitalism is collapsing, even for them. And factories are gone. Wages are stagnant. The middle class is shrinking. So instead of blaming the billionaires class, the system gives them scapegoats. And the scapegoats are who? Are immigrants. Scapegoats are who? Are black people. Scapegoats are who? Are wokeness, Africa, China. Okay? Anything but the truth. Because if they admitted the truth, if they really admitted the truth, they will have to admit that old America was never about fairness, but it was about advantage. Let me say something uncomfortable but honest. Most of this rage that we are seeing right now is not about hatred. It's about identity. If your identity was built on being above others, then equality feels like humiliation. Okay? Then equality feels like, God, it's something that is bitter, And that's why Baldwin said people clinch to their head, because if they let it go, they will have to deal with pain. So old America was psychological. It gave people a sense of worth through hierarchy. Okay? So now the fear is, if I'm not above you, then who am I? That is the panic there. Now, let's be very clear. White Americans are not being oppressed. Nobody is taking away their humanity. Okay, what is disappearing is something else. Automatic dominance, unquestioned control, cultural monopoly, historical innocence. That is what is ending. Okay, and that ending feels like death to people who thought it was permanent. I was saying this. White Americans are not being oppressed. Nobody is taking away their humanity. Nobody. Yeah, but a lot of things is disappearing. Historical innocence and etc. And that's why I'm saying old America is ending. Okay? Now, what happens next when old America ends? That's the real question we're going to ask here. What happens next? What happens when an empire realizes its myth is collapsing? What happens when the people who benefited from the hierarchy refuse to accept equality? What happens? What happens? Okay? One thing that we have to understand is that white rage is not random. White rage is organized. White rage is political. White rage is strategic. And historian Carol Anderson wrote a powerful book. It's called White Rage. Okay? And where she explains that every time black people make progress, there is always a backlash. Not always with burning crosses, but a backlash with the policies, a backlash with the laws, with the systems, with subtle resistance, because the goal is always the same, to restore the old order. So when you see voter suppression, you see attack on civil rights, you see banning black history, you see criminalization, protest, demonizing immigrants, that's not chaos. That is one thing. That is backlash. And we need to be very careful. That's what America or white fighting to keep old America alive. And that's why they say taking back America where it is, or making America great again, just to make America to be the old one, Because after slavery ended, it came Jim Crow law. After civil rights victories, came mass incarceration. After Obama, came Trump. Progress always triggers panic, because old America was never built to share power. Let me talk about DJT for a little bit. DJT did not create white resentment. He exposed it. He gave it permission. He made it fashionable. DJT was not, or is not the beginning. He is, or he was, or he is the megaphone. He is the ahuja. He's the moment where people stopped pretending. When DJT say things like make America great again, they are invading, we are losing our country. What country are they losing? Whose country are they losing? That language was coded, DJT represented a desperate attempt to resurrect old America, and that's why his supporters were not only political, but they were emotional, because for them, this was not about taxes. For them, this was about identity. And that's where the Gen Z comes in. This generation is very different. They are less religiously tied to nationalism, They are less loyal to tradition, whiteness. They are more divisive, more diverse, more radical, more global. So Gen Z does not automatically worship America, but they ask questions. They challenge myths and they see through propaganda. They are growing up in a world where black culture is global, Africa is rising, white supremacy is being named, colonial history is exposed. So, because old America depended on young people inheriting the myth, but the young people are not inheriting that myth. So that's why I say this, the old America is going. Africa rising, old America is going. Gen Z rising, old America is going. We need to know that. All the content creators that are coming out here and creating videos, exposing the system, exposing the culture, means old white narrative is going. Tell me what you think on the comment section about that video. Until next episode, peace out.